Hey guys, Evan Duarte from Epic Effects, and today I'm going to show you how to get some greater control over Blender's camera, and going to show you how to easily do some cool custom camera paths and all that kind of cool stuff. So let's go ahead and open Blender, and we'll make a new project. And first off, what I'm going to show you is just how to use a couple of different curves to kind of control the camera a little bit easier, and just to make things just a little bit less complicated inside of Blender. So first, we're just going to go ahead and use the default scene here with just our cube. And if the screen is a little bit laggy, I apologize. Um, when using my screen recorder, Blender kind of gets a little bit laggy and slow. So let's go ahead and just go to Add, and we're going to go to Curve, and we'll just choose a simple circle, and then we'll move this up on the Z-axis, and then we'll hit S to scale it out. And maybe that's just a little bit too big, so we'll scale it in. Okay, and so what we're trying to do is we're we're going to be using this circle here, or this curve, to take control of our camera. And it sounds a little bit complicated, but it's actually very easy. All you have to do is select your camera, and if you go to Constraint, the Constraint properties, and you click Add Constraint, and we will click Clamp to, and then on our target, we will select Bezier Curve. And as you can see, already our camera is smack dab on our curve. Um, though at the moment you really can't do anything with it because it's clamped onto it, but we haven't told Blender that we want to be able to move our camera around this curve here. So to do that, we'll just hit cyclic, and if we go ahead and move our camera, we'll see that our camera moves, but it stays clamped onto our curve. Okay, so we're pretty much halfway done with the first half. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to make our camera focus on our object here, our cube. So what we'll do is we'll just go to Add Constraint, and we'll do a Track to, and then we'll just set the target to cube. And you can see we got kind of some funky results here. Our camera's kind of rotated in ways that we don't want it to. For most scenes, all you'll have to do is select -Z on the to options, and on the up option just select Y, and generally this will get you the results you're looking for. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. If we move our camera, we can see that it stays locked onto position of the Bezier curve, and not only that, it's constantly looking at the object that we've selected. And also what we can do here is if we select our Bezier curve and we move it up or down, if you look at the camera, it auto rotates, so it's automatically adjusting to our object. So we can do anything we want to it. We could rotate it, and it doesn't matter. The camera's just going to look at the object, and it's going to auto-orient or auto-orientate itself to the position of our object. And so that's really cool, and we can move our object around. Okay, and you see how that works. Okay, so that itself is, really cool. And so what you could do is you could, go about using keyframes and get a nice nice little camera move going here. Um, so we'll just go ahead and do that. With our camera selected, what we'll do is we will, kind of set it up into the initial position that we want. We'll just leave it right here for now. And we will hit I and select location. And so that will insert a keyframe for its current location. And then we'll just go ahead and go in further into the timeline, and we will just move the camera's position. We'll just move it to the opposite end, and then we'll hit I again and select location to add another keyframe. And so if we scrub through, we can see that our camera is now rotating as we've asked it to, yes, as we've asked it to. Okay, and so that's pretty cool. We could do even more, just doing the same sort of thing. And what we'll do is um, we'll just select our Bezier curve, and we'll hit the I button to set a keyframe, and we'll choose location. And then first we need to figure out where the end keyframe for the camera is. And if we just move it, it appears to be frame 68. Okay, and so what we'll do is we'll just select our curve again, and we'll go forward to 68. Or somewhere near that. It appears my laptop battery is dying. It's okay. And so what we'll do is we'll just, kind of move this down. And then we'll hit I to set another keyframe for the location. And so now, if we just go ahead and go into the camera viewport by hitting 0 on the number pad, and we go to the beginning of the timeline, and we hit Alt-A, we can see that we automatically have a very cool, although simple, camera move. And we really didn't have to do much with a lot of keyframes and going through and seeing if anything deformed and, redoing keyframes. We didn't have to do any of that, and we got this nice looking camera animation. So that's pretty cool. So maybe we want to, take this a little bit further. Well, we can go ahead and do that. First, let's go ahead and just create an entirely new scene. And what we'll do is we'll just leave everything here for the default. And we will, or actually what we'll do is, with our cube selected, we'll just, kind of scale it down. Okay, and we'll just move this up here real quick. Okay, so what we'll do is we will hold Shift and hit A, and we'll create a plane. And then we'll just scale this up. Not more than we need to, but nice size. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll hit the N button, and it'll bring up the what do they call this? The N menu. And what we'll do is under Grease Pencil, we'll just select New Layer. And under the drawing settings, we'll hit Surface. And then what we'll do is we'll just go over to our pencil, and we'll choose Draw. And we can just make a kind of do a little drawing here, whatever we want to make. Just make something simple. Okay, that's cool. And then what we'll do is under the grease pencil settings, we'll go to Convert, and we'll choose Bezier Curve. Okay, and so it looks like our curve disappeared, but it actually didn't. it's just completely flat in 2D, so you really can't see it from the plane. And what we'll do is we'll select our plane, and then we'll get the erase tool, and then we'll just erase this bit. Okay, and if you look inside the objects list for our scene, we have this new layer called GP underscore layer. And if we just move this up, you see our curve is now in the grease pencil curve that we drew is now something that is an actual object. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Um, but we can do more with this. And what we'll do is just exactly what we did with the other circle. And we'll just select our camera, and we'll go to constraints, add constraint, clamp to, and then we'll just select our Bezier layer, or our GP layer. Okay, and so what we can do is we can just move the position of the camera, and you see it just goes right along with the path. So what this allows us to do is, instead of using the circle or some of the other presets, we can create our own path exactly how we want it, without having to um, just limit ourselves to what we have here in the curves. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Um, and so next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and auto-orient the camera. So we'll go to constraint and track to, and then we'll just select our cube again, and we'll do a -z and a y, and if we look, that should be yeah, that's exactly what we want. For here, in this particular instance, we don't want to use the cyclic option, because what we want to do is we want to have our camera start here, go through the timeline, and end up here. But if we choose the cyclic option, what will happen is, just to show you real quick, if we do, just set this here, and we'll insert a keyframe really quick for the location, and then we scrub through, or just go back, and we'll go forward in the timeline, or go forward in the timeline first, and then go ahead and go here. Let's see. Set the keyframe for location. You'll see that if we play the animation, where our camera going, isn't following our path and then going to the end. And the reason for that is the keyframes, since the how do you say, with the keyframes, um, what's happening is we have this first keyframe, and we're telling it, okay, we want this position to be right here. And then we have this last keyframe, we say, okay, we want this to be our end position. But what's happening is, with our curve, since it's not since there's no resolution to it and it's just open-ended, it's not seeing the rest of this essentially, and it's going straight to the end. I probably did not explain that very well, but essentially, with the cyclic option in this case, it's skipping over the entire um, the entire um, path, and it's going to the closest option, or the closest keyframe. Okay, so just something to keep in mind for knowing when to use the cyclic option and knowing when not to. typically, if your path does not resolve, or how do I say it? If the path does not just loop around into itself, then you're not going to want to use the cyclic option. So something like this, where it's just one start point and one end point, and the path isn't connected after that, then you just want to leave this off. So just turn that off. And what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and go to the dope sheet, and we'll delete this keyframe. Actually, that deleted both keyframes. We'll go to the timeline. So just go to the first frame here, and we'll set a keyframe for the camera's location. We'll go to about 60 frames, and then we'll, or actually, I don't know if this is gonna move now or not. Yeah, what's the issue here? That doesn't make sense. A bit of a issue here. It was not doing this before. Maybe why? Maybe you have to do it. Well, trial and error, I do suppose. Okay, so yeah, that works. Yeah, I guess sometimes you just gotta kind of figure out what's gonna work and what's not gonna work. Just do trial and error. And so let's just go ahead and set another keyframe for the camera's location. And now, if we just scrub through the timeline, we'll see that our camera is following along the path, and it's paying attention or auto-orientating to our object, just like we wanted. So we'll hit, or if we go to the camera view, we can kind of see what's going on here. Just go to the beginning here. A little laggy, so it's kind of hard to see what's going on, so I apologize for that. But you get the basic idea of what we're trying to do. And you can do a bunch of different things here. One thing you could do is for the objects, say you had a couple different things in your scene that you wanted to do. So we'll just say you had a couple different objects. We'll just duplicate this, duplicate it, and just move it around. Okay, so say you had, a couple different things that, in your scene that you wanted to, pay attention to, but at different times. So you want the camera to first look at this one, and then at a certain point look at the other. Well, you can do that, and what you'll do is in the camera constraint, if you look here, what we'll have this do is, I believe under the track 2, if we just add another track 2, and we set it to our second object, we'll just set this to, what is this, cube 2, and we set the influence to 0, and then we'll just scrub through the timeline, and we'll just keyframe this influence, and we'll keyframe this influence for our first object, and then we'll go through about, halfway, and then what we'll do is we will change this influence to 0, and we'll set a keyframe, and we'll change the influence on this one to 1, and set a keyframe. Okay, and just be sure to change that as needed. Okay, and so that should work. Although what you're going to need to do is um, at the beginning, or not at the beginning, you want, when setting keyframes, if you want it to, how do you say, focus on one object, until a certain time, what you want to do is not do what I did here and just make it so where it's, at this point, it's 100% focused on this, and then go and just add one more keyframe and have it turn to 0. And the reason you don't want to do that is because what it's going to tell the program is over time go from 100% of of um, of this value here, and then over time go to 0. And you don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll just go here and we'll change this value again to 1. Insert a keyframe, and this value we'll set it to 0. And we'll set a keyframe. And so if we go through here, if we just kind of keyframe through the timeline, you'll see we're focused on it, and then we're not so focused on it, and then we're focused on our next object, and that just keeps going through until we get to the end. So that's just how you can, make some cool, custom camera moves and camera paths and all that kind of stuff. So for Epic Effects, I am Evan Duarte. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and subscribe on YouTube. And until the next tutorial, I'll see you guys later. Bye.